And we're on. Hello, welcome to podcast episode 120 of Robonote Boxing. The two Daves are back midweek once again to bring you a preview for the biggest fight, is it? Biggest event of the year so far. Yes, we're talking about Conor Benn against Chris Eubank Jr. this Saturday night at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. If you're new to the channel, please like, share and subscribe. And obviously, if you're listening via Spotify, Amazon or Apple, give us a 5-star review as nothing else will do. We're going to jump straight into talking about the previews of the weekend, should I say. There's a stacked card, if you like, over at Tottenham Hotspur. So we're not going to go down the David McDonald route. We're going to save that till next week. Probably have double the dose of news. Before we jump into the prediction league, let's clear that up. I've literally been rushed off my feet. Dave has the same. Just been talking briefly off air. I fucking hate half terms, brother. So much to do, so many people to see. She's at work or she's here. Same with yourself. I've literally just sat down. I've got myself a can of cider. I'm on my way to work. I deserve a can of cider because I've got up and literally not non-stop. But has to be priority. This has to be done bang on. Well, just after 7 o'clock. So stop waffling, Dave. Just quickly, how are you, brother?
Yeah.
How's things? All right, yeah?
Yeah, I'm all good, mate. I'm all good. Are your kids back at school, are they?
No, next week.
Yeah, see, my kids are back at school, but it's still manic for me.
Yeah.
So I left work early today. I say early, 4 o'clock. I got there. I was in the office at 6:15 this morning, so it's hardly early. But I had to take Alfie to his parents' evening, which was okay. It's pretty much like being at one of ours. You know, like talks too much, is easily distracted, not horrible kid, but likes to mess around, but, does his work when he wants, that. So it wasn't a bad
Can
one.
do
So
better.
I couldn't relate into it. But yeah, it's can't be asked. And I was exactly the same. You were the same. We weren't horrible kids. We weren't rude to the teachers, but we were just disruptive in the class, like slagging people's mums and stuff. So it's pretty, yeah, it was me. So it's pretty much listening to myself fucking 30 odd years ago. So it was okay. So I did that. I've come back, put the dinner on for the kids, jumped on this. She's working. So like you, but my kids are at school. So they're having to send themselves to school and bring themselves back home and let themselves, but they're a little bit older. So they're 15 and 14. So, well, Alfie's 14 on Sunday, which is why we're going to the boxing on Saturday night. So there's a little treat for him.
Yeah, mate. Nice
Even
birthday present.
Yeah, it's a casuals event, as Jay from SW Fight Club kindly told me. But
he's kind of right, but
it is. It's a circus. It's a circus. But my son is of age where YouTubers and that, where he thinks they've got a chance against Mayweathers and Canelos when they announce these sort of things. So he's in that era. So it's more for him than me. I'll go there for the event. It is. I'll be pissed off trying to get home at the end. I'll moan about that next week because I know it's going to be a 2-hour journey home. So I'll have some gripes, but it is what it is. I've never been a massive fan of the fight, but anyway, we'll get into it.
Yeah. Let's jump in straight away. Then let's go into the prediction league from last weekend. Prediction league results going into last weekend was myself on 8, yourself on 5. Last week we had Pero versus Webster. So we both went for Leonardo Pero by KO. He went points, unfortunately. So we had a point apiece there. Smith versus Jermaine. We both went for Dalton Swift by knockouts. That went points as well. So there's 1 point apiece there again. Josh Padley versus the Serbian bin man. I went for Padley on points, so I gained a point there. You went for Padley by KO in round 9. Josh did it in 5, so that's 3 points for you.
That's it.
Yep, Gabriel Fundora versus Mexican opponent Amaya. You went for Fundora by points. Yeah, you went for Fundora on points, so there's a point there for you. I went for the KO in 8. Fundora done it in 7, so I grabbed the 3 points there. And Ben Whittaker versus Liam Cameron. I went for Cameron. You went for Whittaker on points. So you just pick up a point there, but by picking up that point, you did win the prediction league from last weekend, making the scores. Dave G6, Dave H7. Going into this weekend's big event, not big fight, big event. The score standard: Dave Graham 8, David Holland 6, and it's getting close and competitive, mate. These fights are going to be at the weekend, so well done for putting one back.
Thank you. I did think I fucked it with Fundora when she splattered her opponent in round 5 or whatnot. I thought,
no mass.
No mass. I couldn't have been more wrong with her. I thought she's going to do the distance, but no one does it against Sweet Poison these days.
No. Learn from your mistakes next time she's out, mate. Depending on how she fights, but
yeah.
Right, let's get into this. Mate. Chris Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, Saturday night. You're going, as we all know, with Alfie for his birthday. 65,000 screaming fans, if you like. 65,000 casual fans, according to our good mate, Mr. J. Murphy, who will be on the show with us.
64,999 because I'm there.
Yeah, okay.
Casuals.
Fatal Fury, it's called. It was Born Rivals the first time round. It's part of a computer game now. We've got in conjunction with next weekend's fights with Canelo and Skull and Nair and Inoue. It's all in conjunction with this computer game by Uncle Turkey's Ring Magazine. So it's kind of a Riyadh / Ring Magazine / event, but the money seems to be coming out of Uncle Turkey's purse rather than coming out the state of Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. It's for fair fucks to him. So if anybody was moaning about the undercard going forward, I don't think it's a bad undercard. I think it's pretty good for what it is. A lot of the money's obviously, a lot of the money's gone into the main events, which normally happens anyways. Kind of makes sense. Now, let's jump into this, mate. We've seen lots of media outlets, social media, radio stations, TVs, newspapers, the casual fan, the your mum, your dad, your nan, your dog, your cat. Everyone's talking about it. Whether it's a big fight or whether it's not, it's a massive, massive event. Everybody's talking about it, and clearly this. You could say this is Eubank versus Benn part 3. We had part 1 in 1990. We had part 2 a couple of years later in Manchester, where a Eubank has never lost to a Benn. And obviously, as we all know, or if you've been living under a rock, these two were never supposed to meet. Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn, 2 different weights, just born from a rivalry from their fathers, never going in different paths. Chris Eubank Jr. playing his poker, living in Vegas, never fighting for a world title, losing pens. And Conor Benn coming over from Australia as a 19-year-old, because he's got the Benn name, being given an opportunity by Matchroom and Eddie Hearn, kind of trying to work his way up the ranking to see what he can do. And that's basically what it was. You've seen Matchroom, and you've seen at the time Wasserman, and now Boxer jumping on the bandwagon to make a lot of money. And I don't blame them. They're promoters at the end of the day. They're businessmen. They're there to make money. I totally get it. But that's what boxing is. Whether we like it or not, yes, it's still a sport and it'll always be a sport. But that prize fighting money, if you like, the wild, wild west, the greediness, the leeches will always trump, because that's what kind of rules the roost. So, as I said there, mate, it's supposed to happen in 2022. It didn't for the obvious reason. Conor Benn failing 2 drug tests. We don't want to go back into that. That's past now. It's whatever we think of it. We can start talking about your Canelos, your Tyson Furies, your Jarrell Millers, all getting banned, serving bans, but coming back into the sport and making even more money. We don't like it, but you have to accept it. And this is what we're getting on Saturday night. It is a bit of a cash out. I will throw that in there as well. And I'll say it's a cash out because Eddie Hearn, that I always take a lot of notice of what he says, mate, was telling us for months that he could have gone down the Barrios route and fought for a WBC world title. Now he's obviously gone to fight a guy 2 weights above him to make a lot of money rather than be a world champion. So that kind of nails it down. This is a pure cash out. And as I was watching some of the stuff today, and if anybody that's watching on YouTube can see behind me, I've actually got the current presser on at Canary Wolf. So I'll be looking forward to delving into that. But it is a cash out. And it is a fight. And I'd say it's a fight, mate. And I'm not going on for a bit. And obviously, if we want to spend a bit of time on this, and you can have your say. And that's all it is. It is a fight. Eubank Jr. is a career 160, 168 fighter. He's aged 35 years of age now. Record 34-3 with 25 KOs. He's always been up and down these 2 weights. He's a former British champion, current IBO champion. We don't kind of recognise that belt, but, you know, I've seen things this week where kind of some people are bringing it to make it relevant. It's not relevant. You can't unify or become a student with it, so it's not relevant. That's a fact. But he's got one of them. You know, the resume, you look at the resume, if you start comparing the 2 boxers, mate, going forward, Chris Eubank Jr. has got the experience. He's fought at a higher level. He's a physically bigger specimen compared to Conor Benn, naturally. You know, he's fought against world level fighters. On paper, it just looks a complete mismatch. It really does. And when you see him face to face as well, as I just said there, Eubank Jr. is huge. Conor Benn's small, even though going into fight night, mate, he'd be probably walking around about 175, 180 after the rehydration, all that's taken place. So as I said there, on paper, mate, it does look a complete mismatch. Just quickly going on to Conor Benn, he's never kind of fought at any type of level. And obviously people watching this will go, yeah, but he fought Chris Algier and he's fought Chris Van Heerden. Yes, you're right. He has fought them. Chris Algier was a former world champion. But unfortunately, now we dissect it. Those knockout wins, which you got against your Chris Algieri's and your Chris Van Heerden's, former world and IBO champions, nobody's talking about them. And we know why nobody's talking about them, because we didn't know at the time. And to look at the specimen of Conor Benn from the 19 skinny kid that couldn't punch his way out of a paper bag. Yes, the effort was there, the ferocity was there, but didn't really carry any punch power, was punching like a mule. So those knockouts are kind of irrelevant now. We all assume, and it's allegedly, that he was on the juice. So no one's talking about those knockouts now. It's a fresh new start. We've seen him over in the States, Dave, fighting at 153, I think it was, and 157 catch weights. Throw the kitchen sinks at these guys who's gone up in weight. And I mean, throw the kitchen sink at them. I've said it on numerous occasions, and he can't put a dent in them. So going forward into the fight, that's something that does concern me. However, forget if you like for a second, forget the failed drug test and the eggs and things like that. Conor Benn, he's fast, he's furious, he's fresh, he's hungry, he's fit, he's angry, and he's emotional. So all these little bits and bats that I've said there, and a lot more that we're going to talk about to try and find a winner, how one of them's going to win, and obviously Senior's going to come into it as well, and all different kinds of. It's a big bubble, mate, with loads of kind of different. Spider legs coming out of it, if you like, to try and compare these guys. But yeah, I've just put a load of stuff there in front of you. Dissect any of that if you want, and then come up with your kind of theories and comparisons if you like. And I'm just going to have a little side beside because your mouth's going dry.
Say that again, mate. I didn't get any of that.
I'm trying to say it a little bit.
It's theatre, mate. It is. It's had everything. It's had the fathers involved. It's had rehydration clauses. It's had which weight they were going to fight. Originally, the first fight, it was like a catch weight where he was like, Chris Eubank had to boil down. So with that, I understand why Senior is the way he is. Now, it's slightly different this time around because it's made at 160. But you see, when you saw it and I saw it, the way he was on fight week for the first fight, he looked god-awful. And that was a massive factor in this fight with Liam Smith. I don't care what anyone says. Yes, he doesn't have to get down to that now. So we're getting to Senior in a minute. I'm torn between the way Senior is about backing your family regardless and sticking to your principles, but we'll get to that. But yeah, it's as a whole, it's a massive event, and it sells. And like I say, the promoters are looking at it thinking this is great because there's lots of mini stories. Yeah, there's lots of mini stories which makes this fight. And I can sort of see why it's being labelled as casuals, because people that don't usually talk about boxing can get on with this purely for the names of them.
The casual fan is the most important fan, by the way. They're the one that bring the eyeballs, and they're the one that brings the money. There's not enough boxing fans to kind of generate that kind of money and attention, let's be honest.
No, exactly that. And you will see Wally's at this fight on Saturday night. I'll see him. It'll be full of idiots. But it is what it is. But like I say, we said this many times before, Chris Eubank Jr. is the best salesman in boxing for me. He always is. And to be fair to him, he has had everyone on toast through this whole promotion. He has been one up on everyone. In the class act that he was, that he gave the fighters their money that they'd lost in the first fight. Yeah. Said he was going to do it and done it and put everyone else to shame. Now, 4 grand for fighters down in the people list that he sent it to. Fantastic. I mean, who wouldn't want that? So, he stuck to his word. So he's got principle. Everyone was saying he wouldn't do it. The egg thing was great to sell the fight. It was. Listen, I know Senior's got the arse about it. I didn't bring up my son that way. But, I mean, it was genius when it come to selling a fight. It really was. And Conor Benn, as much as he got slapped with an egg, benefits from it as well because it puts more eyes on him. He gets more money off of it. It's brilliant. So, as a spectacle, they've sold it amazingly. And even, do you know what? Even Senior, with the way he's acting, the way he's going on in his own interviews with people, is selling this fight anyway. Because it brings another narrative. It brings another story and eyeballs to this fight.
He said it into a soap opera, really.
It's like Brookside. Yeah. So, like I say, it's got it all. I don't get wrapped up in that sort of stuff anyway. You know me, Dave. I'm not massive on all this sort of shit. I don't like ring walk music. I'd rather just put a towel over your head like Tyson, black shorts, walk in and smash someone up and leave. I'm all for that. But there has been, like I say, everyone's talking about it. So you can't knock it. It didn't sell, though. It did not sell out. I know I'm going on Saturday, and I did this with AJ Dubois.
But according to Eddie, it sold out. According to Edward.
I got my. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't know too much about Viagogo. Whether it's a reselling site, I don't know. But why would you buy tickets and sell them for £21, which is what I paid for them? And a guy that we know, Glenn Cottle, big boxing fan, he goes to a lot of shows and listens to the podcast and whatnot. I send it to him. He's going, and he got his tickets in the queue when it first came out. He paid £80 for his ticket, and he's higher up in the stadium than me.
Yeah.
So if you're going to buy tickets on a reselling site and sell them for less than what you're paying for them, then obviously that business model is all wrong. So I went and I saw Sellout in it yesterday. Oh, it's finally sold out now. I went on Viagogo and there's tickets all over the place again. And I think they're about £30.
Eddie said it sold out.
Yeah, well, it's not the first time Eddie would talk bollocks, and it won't be the last. But I'll be there, so I'll see. I said this last week, and I'm convinced that there will be tickets going for free on Saturday morning if you can get there. I'm fucking convinced about it because they want to sell a narrative, and it is, listen, names are names and all of it, but they want to sell a narrative that this is a massive event, a massive fight. It's, bloodlines, all that sort of stuff. They don't want empty seats, and I'm telling you, they will be giving tickets away for niche on Saturday morning if you're in the area. I fucking guarantee it. But again, people will get lashed up, charged up, changed up, and they'll go there on Saturday, and the atmosphere will be electric. It will be electric, so I can't knock that. In regards to this fight, and this fight's been talked about for many years, purely for what their dads have done.
That's all it is. Without those names, this fight does not happen. Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn, especially Chris Eubank Jr., sorry, mate, doesn't make nowhere near the money he's made without seeing his name. That it's not their fault. A fair play to them. They've been born not with kind of a silver spoon, if you like, but that when you see him it was more Conor Benn in the gym, he does live the life, whereas Eubank does put the weight on and goes and plays poker and things like that. But without them, basically what you're saying is this fight never happens. It's let's be honest, Dave, their dads had real beef. Real world champions, world-class elite fighters, if you like, but these two aren't. No, but they're very lucky boys.
Their dads earned their position into world championships and fighting and unifying titles because they both had separate belts at the time, and they fought for world titles. So they earned their stripes. They done their roots, and they got there and built that fights, them two fights that they had, and that was an amazing time. And the genuine hatred between them was real, and it was great. And that narrative sold it to a casual fan as well. And they signed it on ITV News at prime time. It was the biggest fight on British telly, the viewing figures at the time, because at that time in 1990 it was only 4 channels, so you didn't have your Skies and all that. So they got the biggest viewing figures ever when it came to a fight and all that sort of stuff. There was hatred there. These two have got it off their surnames. And when this was first muted years ago, before any of this sort of stuff, we was like, no, they're too far away in weight. It'll never happen. It can't happen. And
it was a tongue-in-cheek moment. It was only a tongue-in-cheek moment when these two were pros. When Conor Benn burst onto the scene. Now, nobody ever thought this would happen. We always spoke about the weight. A 160 fighter take on what was Conor Benn at the time? 130, 135, whatever it was.
Yeah, he's not even a fully fledged welterweight. No. He's bulked up now. I mean, I've seen the pictures today of when he first burst on the scene to what he is now. Like, fucking hell. It's the transformation is wild. But he was bulking up to make 147. Now we've seen what happens when 147 fighters go in 160 fighters. Kell Brett was never the same. Now I'm not putting Chris Eubank Jr. in Triple G's category, but there is weight classes for a reason. Now when this fight was muted at the start, before any of the shenanigans we got now, I said this fight wouldn't happen. I said Chris Eubank Jr. is too big. And I'm standing on that. I am standing on that. Now, we'll go into the fight and what I think will happen. I still think Chris Eubank Jr. is too big, naturally. Now, if you're talking about...
Is it a mismatch on paper? Let's spend a little bit of time on this before we do predictions. Is it a mismatch on paper?
No, I don't think so, because Chris Eubank Jr. is not the killer that he's always had a good engine. He's always been a good fighter. He's never been a good boxer. Now, you can say the same about Conor Benn, because Conor Benn is a fighter as well. He's not the best of boxers. The only thing that I think is a factor here is the age and the mileage on the clocks, which you say, in their careers. Now, Conor Benn, when I say on paper, 2 years. Yeah. When I say on paper, I'm talking about the resume, the level he's fought at, the world title. Oh, yeah. When you're looking at resume, Oh, and you're looking at records, yeah. It is. It is a mismatch in records, yes. Because Eubank Jr., and we said this before, he's had opportunities to fight current world champions, didn't take. He did actually fight for a world title. He fought George Groves. George Groves was a WBA champion when they fought. So that was in the Super 6 series or whatever it was, the Super series. So he has fought for one, but it was due to that tournament, and he lost that. So every time he's stepped in with someone that's world class, with George was
Liam Smith.
Billy Joe wasn't world class at the time. It was for a British title, but he became world class. But every time he stepped up to that level, every time he stepped up to that level, he's failed, and that's because he didn't have. And we said this about Conor Benn as well. Amateur pedigrees and stuff come into it. He's never been able to take that step. Now, when Chris Eubank Jr. was younger, he had enough engine to wear people down and break them that way because he had a chin and he had a work rate. Now he's 35 years old and that is dwindling. Now he's been with different managers and different coaches. He was with Roy Jones for one fight. He's been with loads of them for one fight, and then he told all of a sudden he was Roy Jones trying to fight like him, which his dad has also said as well. That's not him. Now against a certain level opponent, he can do that. I don't know what way he's going to approach this fight. But if you're going on to answer your questions on paper, yes, he is chalk and cheese when it comes to levels. Now, the only thing that I think is a factor in this is the freshness of Conor Benn. Yes, he's fought two unknowns in America while all this ban stuff was going on. His career's obviously stunted a little bit for what happened with the drugs and stuff. But Chris Eubank Jr. is in the twilight of his career. Now, if Conor Benn has a chance, this is a chance to take him. So I think that's what he's got inside. And you made a good point there saying about what he's going to come in at once he rehydrates. Chris Eubank Jr. cannot go past £10, I believe. Don't quote me on that. I don't think
you're right.
He can't go £10, but Conor Benn can go to what he wants. That's a big difference for me because and that could be a factor as well.
Chris Eubank Jr. didn't have to agree to that. So I heard people moaning and witching and creating about it, but he signed a contract. It was offered to him. Whether it's right or wrong, he didn't have to, but he did. Now, he was a 160 fighter. Again, I heard people saying in the week they build up to it, his best work's been at 168. He's a 168 fighter. Possibly his best work's been at 168, but he hasn't fought a 168 for the last 6 fights. He's been down at 160. So what are you talking about? And yes, he can make one, as I understand, he has to weigh in the morning under IBF rules. It's like an IBF ruling, but the IBF's not involved. So Eddie and Matchroom, they're playing silly buggers. But I just said there, Chris Eubank Jr. didn't have to agree to it. But he can weigh in at 170 on the early morning. That would be obviously 10 a.m. weigh-in. Now from 10 a.m. Dave, or just after 10 a.m. after he's weighed in, he's done his weigh-in. He's do his check weight on the Friday morning. He'd do his proper weigh-in Friday night, live on DAZN and whatnot, which we'll all be watching. Then he'd have his morning weigh-in on the way of the fight. He'd have to weigh at 170, 169. Or obviously, if he weighs over, the fight ain't getting called off. He'd just have to pay a fine. Now, after that weigh-in on Saturday morning, he's got how many hours has he got? 10, 11 hours to rehydrate. No, don't get me wrong. He's not going to go to KFC and start eating bargain buckets and getting loads of Coca-Cola and ice cream. He's been here before. He's worn the T-shirt. He knows exactly what he's doing. He will rehydrate sensibly. He knows exactly how much fluids to have, how many macros to have, what food to eat, and he'll probably come in around about 175, if not 180, same as Conor Benn. So when I thought about that, I'm not too bothered about the rehydration clause. He's been there and done it and wore the T-shirt, and he's agreed to it because he knows what he's doing. He's at his natural weight. That £10, is it a challenge? It's right for me sitting there and saying that, but I think he'll do it quite easy. And you know what? Because he's playing the field, because he's having everybody on toast, because he's paying out and making Eddie look a twat with £50,000 in receipts to the fighters that lost out last time, I wouldn't be surprised if he fails to make weight on purpose, signs a check, hands it over, and say, "Let's go, motherfucker." I wouldn't be surprised because he's owning everybody. It's on behind me right now. He's probably saying stuff we don't even know. I can't wait to watch it after, but I can just see all kind of things like that. But honestly, mate, you mentioned the rehydration. At first, I thought, that's not good. That ain't good. That's favouring one over the other. And after everything that happened, him getting down to 157 last time, he looked dead at the weight. When in Liam Smith, you said it was a factor, possibly. I'm not too fussed this time, mate. I don't know what you think.
I don't think it's as big a factor as it was the last time because he went down past 160 to make the weight, didn't he? Was it 157?
157.
Yeah, and he looked awful on the scales. He did. And like I said earlier, he was known for being able to take a shot, granite chin, like his father. You know, he lived off of that, dined off of that, and he got taken early against by surprise by Liam Smith. Never been hurt like that, and I think him dropping the weight, then putting it back on, and all that weight sort of stuff, that makes a massive factor against Liam Smith. I don't care what anyone says. Like I say, it's slightly different now. Will it be a factor? We don't know. We'll see on the night.
On that, Dave, what I just mentioned there, which I think is a major factor on my decision of who's going to win on Saturday night. I spoke there about Peter Dobson and Orozco, the two guys that he had in America. Now, people can come at us and say, well, it was just a keep busy fight for him over in America. He didn't really prepare. Bollocks. He threw the kitchen sink at both of those guys in 2023 and 2024, full of anger, full of hurt, full of emotion. At the time, he was going through the shadow ban or the actual process with the WBC, the eggs, the VADA test. He was an angry young man, and he threw the kitchen sink at those two guys up at different weights above his 147 weight, and he could not put a dent in them. Did he win the fight? Yes, he did. He dominated most rounds, got unanimous decision win. Yes, he did. No one's disputing that. But actually throwing the shots, landing the shots, clean, flush, hurting those guys like he did with Algieri, like he did with Van Heerden, like he did with Granados, all these guys in the past, pre-eggs. What are you thinking, mate? Because if you can't do that at 153, 151, 154 against a guy that you've just said, yes, Chris Eubank Jr. got chinned against Liam Smith, but that was the only time he got chinned, and the chin is the last thing to go. Yes, we've seen him in the past against George Groves, a much bigger, stronger man, big, clean shots, just bounced off Chris Eubank Jr.'s head. I don't know if the power, a clean Chris Eubank, clean Conor Benn that hasn't got any juice inside him. Before people start shouting and screaming, he failed 2 drug tests and they were going to go ahead with it. So a clean Conor Benn going in at 160, obviously weighing on the night 175, probably 180. I'm not sure he can take that power up and hurt Chris Eubank Jr., Dave. I really don't, based on those last 2 performances I saw of him in America.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I totally agree. Listen, he's going to come out in this fight and he's going to be like a ranging bull. Now, Chris Eubank Jr. knows that. So Chris Eubank Jr. is going to be preparing for that. He is going to catch Chris Eubank Jr. with some shots. He is, because he's going to be wild. And he's going to come straight centre of the ring. I know the ring's now been made smaller. I don't know why Chris Eubank Jr. is allowed for that, but maybe he's got his own plans to go toe to toe.
I think he's going to shock a few people, Eubank, mate. I think he's going to shock a few people. I really do. And on that, I think nobody spoke about this. Because obviously we're listening to things, dissecting it, making our own mind up. I don't know if people are giving Tony Sims much respect either, because for Conor Benn just to run out there like a madman, full of hurt, emotion, rage, and just throw the kitchen sink, as I just said, at Chris Eubank Jr., not to hurt him, and kind of punch himself out for 5 rounds and not have the gas tank to see it through to the end, I think it's quite unprofessional. I think there might be more of a game plan. I think Tony Sims I think the game plan might not be to run out and attack Chris Eubank Jr. It's a 36-minute fight. If you can't do the business in 15 minutes, he's never fought at this level before. Chris Eubank Jr. has been there, done it, worn the T-shirt. And let's be honest, Dave, Chris Eubank Jr., when he wants to trade, he can trade and he can punch. He's more of a natural puncher at 160. He carries the power at 160. Conor Benn doesn't. He couldn't carry the power at 151. Mate, this is so intriguing. It's not a good fight in terms of where they are in their careers, levels they fall at. We've kind of done all that thing. Yeah. I don't think it's black and white as Conor Benn rushing out and throwing and hoping for the best for 6 rounds and then being gassed, and Chris Eubank Jr. just soaking it up and then getting him late. I don't think it's as simple as that, dude.
Have you ever seen Conor Benn fight any differently?
No, I haven't, but he has never fought at this level.
No, I know. Listen, but he might come with a different game plan, and he might be smoke screening people to thinking that's what he's going to do, because that's sort of what he's saying, and that's sort of what people were expecting. Maybe he may try to come out and box, but does he have you seen him with that boxing ability? Has he ever stood centre of the ring and, thrown combinations and thought about his work? Everything.
What about if he downloads? What about if he downloads for a couple of rounds, walks around the ring? I'm just trying to think of different. I just think it's crazy for him to work. And this is what I'm trying to say about his last 2 opponents at a smaller weight, throwing the kitchen sink at them, smashed them to bits, and they're just kind of standing in front of him saying, "Well, yeah, you're beating me, but you can't get rid of me. What the fuck? You was smashing dudes with 1-punch power 2 years ago." Yeah. So I'm trying to play devil's advocate a little bit, mate. But It is intriguing. It is very, very intriguing. But I just want to say as well, I'm kind of not on behalf of Conor Benn. You know, he was turning into a darling of British boxing, wasn't he? Let's be honest. In terms of, he was one of the most improved boxers in the UK, from, you know, being that skinny 19-year-old coming from Australia, getting dropped a few times. You know, he's a bit like the old man in terms of getting off the canvas, going for it, rolling the dice, you know, throwing all loads of shots. Got massive. We now know probably why. To be in love with Chris Eubank Jr., to be the bad guy, the villain, and now it's called kind of all role reversal. But I just want to ask a question, and nobody seems to be asking this question. I know world titles aren't involved, but we're all kind of applauding Terence Crawford for jumping up going up 2 weights to fight Canelo. What's the difference in Conor Benn doing it? What is the difference?
You know yourself, I wasn't a fan of Terence Crawford doing it. I never have been. I've always been against it.
But we're calling it, what are we calling it? Daring to be great. We're all saying it was daring to be great now. That's to the legacy. But he's still jumping up 2 or 3 weights.
Yeah.
Conor Benn's doing it.
I think it's slightly different because I'm not looking at Conor Benn here thinking he's daring to be great by going up 2 weights to fight Eubank, because even if he beats Eubank, I wouldn't say he was a great. Terence Crawford goes up and does it against Canelo. It's a different thing because Canelo's an undisputed champion. So I think it's slightly different. I can see why you're asking the question, and I can see what you're sort of saying. This is not a daring to be great fight for me. This is a money fight off the back of surnames. So this is just creating a narrative for people to jump on board with, which they have. But
yeah, you've answered that well, mate. To be fair, yeah, you are right.
I've never liked the jumping up of weights, which is why, like I said back earlier on, I've never been a fan of this fight. Funnily enough, I'm going, but I'm a prick. But I've never been a fan of this. I've never been a fan of this fight purely for the size difference. Like you said, there, I know he's been his campaigns between the 2 weights, supermate, middleweight, and middleweight, and he's been in his last few fights. He's been middleweight, and that's fine. Conor Benn, without this, we probably would have maxed out at 147. He's only doing this, you know what I mean? So there is. I know they're not trying to make an issue of the weight, but there is a big weight difference here. I don't care what anyone says. And like you said there, he was struggling to bang people out in 151. Yeah. So I think there's massive. And like I say, when this fight was first ever mentioned, I went, no, Eubank Jr. is too big. And that, for me, is never swayed. Never swayed. And that will be with my decision, which we'll come on to shortly, as to who I think wins this fight. Now, I do say this fight, I don't think this one fight between them 2 is it.
No. Eddie said today that he's always talking about rematch. He was saying, once Conor Benn smashed him to bits, Chris Eubank Jr. is not going to leave it like that. He's going to want to set this record straight in the rematch. So yeah, you're right. There is. You might even get a trilogy, mate.
There's going to be controversy in this. I'm telling you, there's going to be controversy in this, which calls for another one. I promise you. The referee might jump in too early. Something's going to happen here where it has to be done straight away when they run it back straight away. I'm telling you, because there's so much money, regardless of what you think of it, there's so much money involved in this, and so much. I don't think it's a massive fight as a fight, but as a spectacle and narrative, it's massive. They're licking their lips at this, and they'll want to do 2 and 3. I can guarantee it. So something will happen in this fight where this fight will happen immediately again after this year, later on in the year. I promise you that something's going to happen here.
If Conor Benn wins, would you say it'd be an upset where they're both on their careers now? Would you say it was an upset?
Yeah, like I said there, there's never been a scenario in any of this where I see Conor Benn winning.
Even though you mentioned Eubank's age, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just trying to throwing out questions. His age, the Zerameta fight. I know he got the job done against Zerameta out in Saudi, but I think a lot of us saw the kind of after the inactivity of Eubank Jr., whether it was ring rust, he did look a bit slower.
He did.
The combinations weren't as fast or weren't there as much. Like
I say, there's always slight factors, and like I say, and timing is everything. So if Conor Benn, it was a timing to get Chris Eubank Jr., could this be it? I would say so. He's 35 years old. He's coming to the twilight of his career. Father Time catches up with us all. He is the fresher fighter. He is probably more explosive, faster. Again, power is an issue. I think you can hurt him. Not really, but it's a hard one. So, but when this fight was ever muted, and anyone has ever asked me, I've always said that Chris Eubank Jr. wins, and I don't think I'll ever sway from that.
If Eubank does lose, where does he go? We know where Conor Benn's going. He's 26, if that. Conor Benn. He's already speaking about I'm going down to 147 regardless after this fight and the next fight, whatever. Going down to 147. The Barrios fight apparently is there, ready waiting for him. But we know what he's got another good 10 years left in the sport. Where does Chris Eubank Jr. go
now? Barrios is fighting Pacquiao from what I see today.
Yeah. But
that's for another day.
I mean, where does Chris Eubank Jr. go? If he loses to a welterweight, if he gets knocked out by a welterweight, he's still carrying the Eubank name. The Eubank's never lost to a Benn. There's a bit of pressure on him here. He's not fighting at 60% like he said he was going to do the first fight. So yeah, where does he go? Does he hang up the gloves? Does he focus on poker? Do we never see him again? Is it a Tony Bellew moment? I bet then he comes back. I mean, there is more pressure, for two different reasons. Conor Benn kind of wants, as I said earlier, mate, he's full of anger and rage. He wants to prove something to people, as well as to himself, I suppose. But Chris Eubank Jr.'s got to win it against a career welterweight, isn't he? Or super lightweight, if you like.
Yeah, like for me, Conor Benn is on a win-win really, because all of a sudden, if he loses, he'll say, "Well, I wasn't big enough." Easy. He goes back down to 147 campaigns as the rest of his career. Chris Eubank Jr. wins this. He's the bigger man. He's expected to. He's fought a 147 fight. He should have done. You know what I mean? So there's things there. To go back to your question, Chris Eubank Jr. for me, the only way I don't see him retiring is if there's a rematch or a trilogy in this. If he loses this, I don't see him going in with anyone else other than rematching Conor Benn and campaigning for that. I think that's the only thing that keeps him going. Now, again, he will get work because of his name. But I think, after this, I don't see if coming off a loss, I don't see where he goes. And that goes for him against anyone for me, really. I think he's only one loss away from calling it a day anyway, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's, before we make our predictions, mate, and quickly go over what's on the rest of the card. Chris Eubank Senior.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about this. We've all seen the IFL interview last week. He was on TalkSport today with Simon Jordan. I caught a little bit of that. It was a lot of waffle, if I'm honest. I can understand half the things he was going on about, but I could read between the lines. And what I took out of it, obviously you want to speak about it as well. What I made out of the IFL interview as well. I mean, he can talk about Chris Eubank Jr. being disrespectful with the egg. He hasn't brought him up like that. Karen hasn't brought him up like that and things like that. I totally get it, but that's between them two. Unfortunately, they're both in the public eye. It's out in the public. So us as the public are going to judge it and we're going to talk about it and have our opinions. But at the end of the day, it's nobody's business apart from them two. But however, that's just how it is. Now, when I say reading between the lines, Dave, what I can see from Chris Eubank Senior, it's not the jealousy, the being left out. He constantly talks about Michael Watson, and he mentioned Nick Blackwell, and he mentioned Gerald McLennan in another interview. Yeah. He's scared. The guy's scared because he's just last year or whatever it was lost his other boxing son, Sebastian, and he doesn't want to lose another son in Chris Eubank Jr. because he keeps talking about weights, hydrations, weight classes for a reason, and obviously he keeps on about Michael Watson. It plays on his mind, and I just see a scared dad. That's what I see. I see a scared dad. And and I think as well, he's talking on behalf of Conor Benn as well. Conor Benn shouldn't be going up against a bigger, stronger man. Yeah. So that's what I can see out of it, mate. I just see a very scared man that's petrified for his son and for the opponent as well. But when it comes to their relationship, I don't think it's anybody's business. What goes on behind closed doors should go on behind closed doors. But they've both made it public, so we're more on our rights as the public to have a public opinion, mate. Yeah, I think it's a really sad situation. Listen, I like principles, and Chris Eubank Senior is standing on his principles. He's never swayed from them. He said it from the start, and he's always stuck with it. Now, his argument is that if he goes to this fight, he's supporting something he doesn't believe in, and I get all of it, and I really do. I just don't. I've got a son myself. You have. I don't feel I can live in a world where I wouldn't be behind him, regardless of whether I've agreed with him or not. I would always want him to know, listen, I don't agree with what you're doing here, but I'm here for you. That's the only thing I can't get on with. I quite like the fact that Chris Eubank Senior is making noise about this, because
he's not a yes man, is he?
It is his son's life. And like I say, Nick Blackwell, I've followed Nick Blackwell. You see it, it's a horrible sport like that. And, and the thing is with Michael Watson, a lot's come since Michael Watson. We've now got the best doctors in the world when it comes to, and they're straight on fighters when they get knocked out. And, it wasn't quick enough to get oxygen to his brain, which is why Michael Watson, what happened to him. But when you are weight drained and that, and we've seen some people horrible on the scales. I mean, we've seen some of that UFC stuff when they were dragging him on. Remember that? And putting them on the scales and they were half dead.
Scary.
You haven't got any fluid in your body now. You're taking punches to the head, brain damage. So they've lived it, and Chris Eubank Jr. has lived it as well with Nick Blackwell. Gerald McLennan was another one.
Ben,
yeah. So I can understand that, and like I say, Senior has lost a son. It was not to that, but he's obviously, he's gone through so much. You don't ever think about losing your kids.
They were at the same weights, Dave. Sorry to interrupt, but they were at the same weights as well. That's what I'm saying. Watson and Eubank and McLennan and Ben and Eubank Jr. and Blackwell were all they weren't at catch weights. They weren't at weights below. They were all at the championship weights. I just think he's scared of losing another son. That's all.
Yeah, and I can't argue with that, mate. I can't argue with that. So there's a lot in what Senior's doing that I actually agree with, and I can take to my heart and think, you know what, I'm okay with what he's doing there. I just think he should back his son anyway. Be there, make all that noise, but be behind his son. I would back through most things. And obviously, if it was something sinister where he went to prison for doing something that was really bad, so like a woman or whatever else, you can't condone that. So I can understand not backing that sort of stuff. But this is like a boxing. I would vent my frustration and say, I don't want this fight, but I would want my son to know that I'm standing behind him. And I think if he did that, Senior, I mean, Senior doesn't care what anyone thinks anyway, but if Senior went, listen, I don't think this fight's happening, calling out people, this ain't right, this with this, and done that, said, but I'm going to back my son, I'm going to be there for him because I'm his father. I think the situation with everyone have been, fair fucking play. Like, I think that the reason it's torn is because of that. Because family's over everything, man. So I'm 50-50 with what Senior's done. I agree with everything that he says. I do. As a father, I agree with everything he says. But I do think you should always back your children.
Yeah. They're faced off behind, by the way. So that'd be interesting to see who looks away first. But yeah, I agree. Do you think he'll turn up on Saturday, mate? I don't. I don't. I think he's a man of his word, and as you said there, he doesn't give a shit what other people think about him.
No, he never has. That's why. I mean, it's a shame, really, because this would have been great if he was on board with all the.
Make it better. It'll make it better.
And all that. That'd have been brilliant. I love the Rastafari stuff.
Nigel, but Nigel in one corner with his son, Chris in the other corner with his son. Right. Let's get down to it, mate. We've spent quite a while on this. That's why we did do a bit of David McDonald's. Who wins and how, brother?
I can say I'm a man of principle myself, and I stand by what I say. And I've always seen a world where if this fight was ever going to happen, which I never always thought it did, was going to. I think Chris Eubank Jr. wins based on experience, based on size. I always thought he was too big. I think with you, I'd be very surprised if Conor Benn comes out and tries to box. I think he is emotional. So even if that is the game plan, I don't think that will last, especially if he's taking shots. I think he'll lose his rag. So I think the only way Conor Benn can win is to catch Chris Eubank Jr. cold. But I think that Chris Eubank Jr. will prepare for that. And I think Chris Eubank Jr. will soak that up early doors, let Conor Benn punch himself out. And I think that Chris Eubank Jr. will stop Conor Benn in round 7. But I can also see it maybe being controversial, where the referee jumps in and they're really like, oh, that's a bit early. But I still see a Chris Eubank Jr. stoppage.
Yeah, same. I'm going against the grain, as I said earlier. I think Conor Benn would be stupid to come out and start throwing windmills and hoping for the best. There's, as I say, I think Tony Sims is not getting any kind of respect in terms of his boxing know-how or knowledge. There's going to be a game plan there. It is a massive.
It's whether he implements it, though.
Whether he implements it or not. And I think he'll start slow. People might be surprised by that. I think he'll start slow. I think it'll give Eubank Jr. a shock as well, if you like. And Eubank Jr. will start establishing the jab. His boxing skills, the boxing IQ will get the better of Conor Benn. Then going into round 4 or 5, I think Conor Benn will start getting frustrated, lose his head because he can't get to Eubank Jr. then start windmilling, getting in close, throwing those fast hooks. And I think, as you said, I think he might get caught cold. It's going to be a shot he doesn't see coming from Chris Eubank Jr. And as I said, as a 160 fighter, Chris Eubank Jr.'s got X amount of knockouts. He can punch, regardless of what anybody says. Just because he's fallen short at the top level, or he's walked away from your Gennady Golovkins, or your Carlos Adamazes and your Yanibek Alimhanalas, he's still got power at 160. And I agree. In different circumstances, I think he stops Conor Benn. I think he puts Conor Benn down. I think Conor Benn gets straight back up in experience, fighting on heart, emotion, and he'll come straight back out at Chris Eubank Jr. and he'll throw a few combinations at him, put him down again, and it's waved off. I'm going to go for round 8, mate. Round 8 stoppage by Chris Eubank Jr. Yeah, it is intriguing. It's really intriguing. So many thoughts going through our heads how it's going to play out and whatnot. But yeah, as you say, to cap it off, let's be honest, ladies and gentlemen, this fight never happens if they didn't have the dads in Nigel and Chris.
Never.
Right, let's quickly go through the rest of the card. So it's an half decent card. All the money's been spent on the main event, but this one, Lyndon Arthur versus Anthony Yarde, part 3. This is the trilogy nobody wanted to see. And I've got to be honest, Dave, out of all these fights on here, this is the least one I'm kind of interested in.
Yeah.
We've seen it twice before. We saw Anthony Yarde get outboxed by Lyndon Arthur during COVID times. Yes, Anthony Yarde lost 2 of his, nearest and dearest at the time. He was going through all different emotions and things like that. But at the end of the day, he still lost. And then he kind of went in the second time, put the wrong right and smashed Lyndon Arthur to bits. And I can only see it going one way again, Dave. However, if Lyndon Arthur wants to right the wrong, try and box him. Lyndon Arthur's he's an odd character. And I don't mean that disrespectful. Lyndon Arthur sometimes looks $1 million. He's got such a good, underrated jab. He really has. And then sometimes you watch him, he looks rubbish. He looks like he's trying to coast when he can't. He looks disinterested, kind of laboured efforts. He's an odd fighter, but he has got skills. I'd love to see Lyndon Arthur make this a lot closer. But I just see Anthony Yarde getting to him, mate, and stopping him again. I really do. Yeah,
I do. It's Lyndon Arthur's, like I say, when he first won the first fight, you thought this is it. Like, he's going to go on and do great things. He has got a good boxing IQ, and like you said, his jab is great. But he never really kicked on for me. There was opportunities there for him to make a bit of a name for himself, and he never really took it. Then he went back in with Anthony Yarde, and he got stopped pretty early. I can't remember. I haven't looked at the fight back, but he got stopped in the second fight.
Yeah. And
then again, then that was it. Really, it was 1-1. Yes, we talk about trilogies being done, but this for me has gone on. There's lots that have happened now where now I don't see the point for this anymore. I know it was 1-1 and everyone wants to see who the winner is, but
we don't know, do we?
We don't. Yeah, there's too much gone on. Yeah, no one wanted it. It come out of nowhere. No one's really gone. Oh, I'd love to see who would really win it. It's not like like Katie Taylor's and all that where they don't have 3 fights. Even though Katie Taylor's won 2 of them, you're still watching.
Yeah, but even though this is a proper trilogy, Dave, it's 1-1. It's not a 2-0 or a 3 fucking. This is a proper trilogy.
Yeah,
nobody wants to see it. Yeah, nobody's gone for it.
You would usually be going, I want to see who is actually winner here, and no one's ever said that about this fight. So it sort of come out of nowhere. I wasn't sold on it. Like I say, I think too much has gone on now with Lyndon Arthur. I don't think he's got the heart for it anymore. Anthony Yarde's a strange one. Is he with Frank? Then he wasn't with. He done one with Boxer. His career's always been a bit of a strange one because, when we say it all the time, he goes in with Bin Men, then he goes in with Kovalev. So there's never been anything in between. And even this fight for him doesn't really do anything for him from what he's trying to achieve in the division he's in. Because even if he beats Lyndon Arthur, it's almost like, oh, okay, what is next for him? And it's obviously been actually talk and stuff like that. So this one was a little bit out of left field and not really called for me. I just think Lyndon Arthur is. I don't want to be disrespectful, but that was his time in the first fight for him to really kick on his career. He never did. I don't see that being a resurgence in this fight. So for me, I'm going to go for Anthony Yarde to win, and I think Anthony Yarde stops him in 3 rounds. I honestly, I think Lyndon Arthur has got the ability to outbox Yarde, and he proved it. But I just don't know what he's got left. I think Anthony Yarde will end up walking him down and stopping him.
Yeah, exactly the same. Yeah, I think they're going to get a bit later. I think Lyndon's going to try. I don't think he's going to want to kind of rinse and repeat from last time, but I think that's exactly the way to do. And also, I'm going to go around 7. But I'm glad to see Anthony Yarde back on these kind of cards. Whatever you think of Anthony Yarde, and you are right, he goes from bin men to world elite class. You know, there is nothing in between. It's a bit like the women's division, but he is an exciting fighter. Has he got the best skill set? He's obviously got Tunde shouting lies in the camp and things like that. No, he hasn't.
The worst I've ever seen ever.
Yeah, it's awful.
What was I'm sure that's a wind up. I'm sure that pad work.
Tunde.
He's doing ones behind his back and everything.
Yes.
I'm sure that he does that so people go, "What the fuck is this?"
Do you remember he never used to have sparring sessions, did he, Yarde?
No.
He used to spar anyone, so it's a bit of a strange one anyway. But you know, once Santi Yarde's on the front foot, he is, you know, probably at the same level. Yeah, he's one of the biggest punchers in the division. He really is. So it is exciting to watch. But I agree with you, mate. I see it going exactly the same way, just a little bit later. Liam Smith versus Aaron McKenna. This is an interesting one, and I say an interesting one because Liam Smith, at the age of 36 now, Aaron McKenna is 25. I want to see what's left of him. Ex-world champion, love Beefy Smith, never in shit fights, always comes to entertain. Yes, he lost to Eubank Jr. As Dave said about the first fight, the factors with the you know, making 157 and he was boiled down. Yes, it was a different fight, but there was factors involved in getting knocked out by Liam Smith. Obviously, you know, lose fluid to the head and things like that, which I totally understand where he's coming from. But with the rematch, to the day I die, you go back and watch Liam Smith's fights. I've never seen him that bad. And you go and watch him. His feet doesn't move. It's like he's stuck in the mud. He's got dartitis. He can't throw. You know, at the end of the day, fair fucks to Chris Eubank Jr. He went in there and done a job. Doesn't matter if it was a poorly Liam Smith or not. He chose wealth over health that night. And you've got to, you know, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. He made that choice. He's a lot better than that. Now, we saw him he was supposed to go in with Josh Kelly on another Uncle Turkey card, pulled out of an injury that night. If Liam Smith is fit, Dave, and this is what worries me about him, at the age he's at now, he seems to be getting a lot of injuries. He plays football and all kinds of other sport. He does go up and down in weight a lot, but he's quite an active guy, and he seems to be injury prone at this end stage of his career. But if he's fully fit, I expect him to be too much for Aaron McKenna. I've gone back and watched some of Aaron McKenna's things. Look, I saw him at the face-off. Not the media work, at the face-off, and he wouldn't look away. He's razor sharp, he's focused, he's lasered in. He says, I'm on a big stage here, I'm coming to make a statement. Very similar to where his brother fights, tall, gangly, likes to counter punch and things like that. But Liam Smith's an hard night's work for anybody. He really, really is. And we saw Yanni bet a couple of weeks ago, and we were moaning. Well, I certainly was moaning about the level of opponents that he was facing. Liam Smith would have been a much better opponent than that African kid he had. Much better. An ex-world champion, a game-fit Liam Smith. So my question is, to everyone, and personally to myself, if Liam Smith is fit, is he more than enough for Aaron McKenna, or is his time done now? Is it time for Aaron McKenna to make a statement at middleweight and say, right, I'm that guy now, get me up the rankings, and give me a Lara, give me a Dames, give me a Yanni Beck, I'm the guy. I'm not sure he is, mate, but what are you thinking?
I'm always, with Liam Smith, I always see the best in Liam Smith, so I always expect a lot from him. And, you know, 9 times out of 10, he'll prove you right. He's a hard night work. For me, he's always been the most underrated Smith brother for me. He does the basics very well, very high guard, but a very good boxer, and I think he does get a lot of credit for that. Yeah, he's a tough night's work. And again, when I see this fight, I think, you know, a switched on, healthy Liam Smith for me wins this fight. I don't want to say easy. I don't want to say Aaron McKenna. Aaron McKenna's never been beaten.
Never fought at this level.
Sorry.
Again, he's never fought at this level. McKenna. It's a massive step up for him.
No, it's a massive step up for him. So, but based on the last fight, now it's all come out now that Liam Smith was injured in the last Eubank fight. I think bad back, which is why he couldn't plant his feet. But don't get in the ring.
Obvious.
Yeah, I agree. Get in the ring. Yeah, because like you look at the first fight between Liam Smith and Eubank Jr., he came out, he was sharp. He caught Eubank cold. He looked fantastic. Now that Liam Smith that goes in, that Liam Smith is, if he's here on Saturday night against Aaron McKenna's in trouble for me. In trouble. The only question marks is what Liam Smith you're going to get, and that will determine the winner of this fight for me. So this is where I'm going to get smoke screen, because if I go to Liam Smith, which I will, I'll try to put it out there now, I think Liam Smith's going to win. But if the first bell goes and I sort of see him being slow and cumbersome, and that it's all, it's going to be a hard night's work. Aaron McKenna's 25 years old. He's fresher. He's younger. You know, he's in a different stage of his career. And we talk about getting people at the right time. Yeah. If Aaron McKenna's to win, this is it for Liam Smith. To get him at the right time. He's 36. You know, there's mileage on the clock. He's come off a pretty, I wouldn't say destructive. He wasn't knocked out cold, but he was stopped against Chris Eubank Jr. He's coming off a big defeat there. But that was one fight before that. For me, this is not even a question if that Liam Smith's in there. So for me, it boils down to what Liam Smith we're going to get. Now, if he's healthy, I think Liam Smith walks Aaron McKenna down and takes him late. But it's an intriguing fight, but it's more intriguing for me as to what Liam Smith we're going to get. Aaron McKenna, again, he's 25 years old. He's quite tall and rangy, like you said, like his brother. He's a counter puncher. So, but Liam Smith is all about pressure, high guard, walks in and throws
sits on your chest, yeah.
Yeah, sits on your chest. Well, Aaron McKenna's never had pressure like that.
No.
So it is an intriguing fight. And if Aaron McKenna does win this fight, it does put him into a level where, this is it now for him. It's a big scout. It's a big scout for Aaron McKenna if he gets this. I think Liam Smith is gonna I would say roll back the years, but I think it's going to be a better Liam Smith than we saw the last time. And I think he's going to win by stoppage, a TKO stoppage. I think he's going to walk him down, Aaron McKenna, stop him in round 9.
I'm going to go round 4. Ooh. I'm going a bit earlier. I'm going to go round 4. That, as I said, I'm just going to by levels. Yes, he's fought out in Japan. He's had a few at York Hall and things. He's based over in America now, McKenna. He's going to have to punch down as well. Liam Smith, as I say, if he's fit, and I'm praying, I'm a beefy fan, so I want him to win anyway. When he normally say I haven't got a dog in the fight, I love Liam Smith. I just like the way he fights. I love his style. I love his attitude. He's just a normal bloke, He turns up in a mini cab to fucking fights and press conferences where Eubank juniors turn up in bloody limos and all that kind of game. He's just a normal geezer like me and you. Yeah. But I think that pressure that he puts on Aaron McKenna, if he puts it on him early, and if we get into the version we saw of Eubank 1, when he lands them overhand rights, he's going to smash him. He's going to smash him. I hope he smashes him as well. I really do. Nothing against Aaron McKenna, but when you're a fan of a certain fighter, you want them to win, and it is prize fighting. So each man to their own. But yeah, I'm going Liam Smith to knock him out in round number 4, mate. Talking of disrespect, I find this fight odd. And when I say I find it odd, I've been watching things as you have, mate, all week and reading things. Now, I've got to be honest, I don't want to spend too much time on this because of time-wise, going to work and whatnot. The name Brandon Glanton, I listen to enough podcasts, I listen to enough paid pundits, pros, ex-pros, friends of the show, media things, Twitter, Instagram, etc. I've never heard anybody mention him, okay?
Never.
And when we spoke about... No, never. I've got to be honest, I've never heard anybody mention him, right? And that's fine. We done Pero last week and nobody's talking about. That's fine. On these shores, even the American media, I've never heard anybody talk about Brandon Glanton. Yeah, no, he's highly ranked like Pero, obviously for a reason. But the amount of disrespect Chris Billam-Smith's getting is, I think, is shocking. Now, Brandon Glanton, I've had a look away. He fights. He's a lot smaller than Chris Billam-Smith. He throws a lot of shots. He's quite front-footed. He throws a lot of hooks. He's a hooker. But he fought out in Russia against a Russian guy. People are going off that. He beat a Russian in Russia. He knocked him out in the 11th round out of 12. He carries power late. But he's also gone the distance with David Light. We've seen David Light in against Lawrence Okoli and actually stink the place out. Yeah. And people are talking like it's a 50-50 fight. I see this more as a banana skin. I really do. To me, Brandon Glanton, what I'm trying to say, guys, the name Brandon Glanton, and me and Dave are quite honest on there. If we say we don't know someone, we don't know someone. We have to go on BoxRec.
Yeah.
Before that name was mentioned, and we spoke to anybody on this podcast or media, social media, they're not telling you anything about the guy. But apparently he's this killer. And when we speak about Yarde Tire, and when we talk about Zerdo Ramirez and Marius Bradis before he retired, getting him hard, competitive, strong, risky fights, this name never came up. And I'm just intrigued why. Now, I want to see a close, competitive fight. And if Brandon Glanton is that guy, I'm looking so much forward to it. But I think Chris Billam-Smith, the world champion, the ex-world champion that he was, I don't think it's been down. He definitely hasn't been stopped. He's big, he's tough, he's strong. He goes to the end. Yes, he probably did overachieve, but he's been in with a better competition. He's been with a better level of fighter. He's been in the harder fights. He is was the world champion. Now, man, put some respect on that guy's name. People talk about, you've got to back the Brit and all this kind of jazz. Well, I don't go along with that, but this time I am. I think people are poo-pooing him for a guy that no one knows anything about. Now, if he goes in there and blasts Chris Billam-Smith, I'm going to sit here and go, do you know what? Anybody that called that, fair fucking play to you. But if you're going on that just because he's ranked high, and you've just read an article or you've watched a highlight reel, a knockout reel of him, then you're just second guessing, you're just wild guessing, because this name has never been mentioned with Jarbatai. I sound kind of pissed off a little bit. I am. So on that, I've got nothing against Glanton. He's a loudmouth. I just watched him in the press before I came on here. He's quite disrespectful to Chris Billam-Smith, calling him all his names under the sun. But I want Chris Billam-Smith to smash him up. I want him to go in there and show what I was the world champion. I'm going to get my belt back. I'm going to go in with Badou Jack. I'm going to show up a tire and have a rematch with Zerdo. He's just too nice a guy. He's not going to do that, but I just hope he would do that, But I want CBS to smash him all over the place, Dave. And I'm going straight in here now before I let you two. I want Chris Billam-Smith to go in there, make a statement, smash him up and put him away in 5 rounds. And then get on the mic, rock the mic, say, right, the winner of Badou Jack and Rosicki or whoever it was, Mikhailian, right, give me that opportunity next. Then I can start calling out your Zerdos again for a rematch or your Jarbatais, But Chris Billam-Smith, I'm rooting for you on Saturday night, brother.
Yeah, listen, mate, I couldn't agree more. I've seen people that we're friends with in it, boxing gurus and whatnot, just pick Glanton out of nowhere that I've never heard before, saying he's going to win by knockout and all this other sort of stuff. After I saw that, I was starting to think, hang on a minute. I went back and looked at Glanton then and thinking, like you, I've never heard anyone talk about that. We've always spoke about the cruiserweight division being shallow. There's no one coming through. Bradis is now retired, right? It's only Jarbatai. He's got no one. And Jarbatai's fucking opponents always get poo-pooed, and then all of a sudden, Brandon Glanton's been mentioned. He's this next fucking Mike Tyson sort of person where he's knocking everyone out, and Chris Billam-Smith's in trouble. I couldn't work it out, and I still can't work it out. Then I've heard him speaking in the press conference. You know how I feel about brash Americans and talking shit. I'm not for that, but he's talking a good game. But like I say, it's more what I see on Twitter from people that we know saying that Brandon Glanton's going to do this and do that, and I just can't see it. Now, this knockout sort of talk, right? I think people are very short-sighted in what this Chris Billam-Smith's just been through. Now, his fight with Zerdo, he showed more fucking balls than a lot of people have ever seen for any fighter.
Yeah, it's getting beat up,
all of a sudden, Brandon Glanton's going to come in and stop him. Come on, not for me. Not for me. And now I'm with you. I've never been a massive Chris Billam-Smith. I like him as a bloke, but I never thought his boxing, he's been a great boxer. He has overachieved, and I actually like that. Nice enough fella. But for me, I'm with you. I'm in Chris Billam-Smith's camp here, and I think it's disrespectful that unless people are just on the wind up, but I've seen a lot of it. So I don't think that they are.
Maybe we've missed something, mate. But again, I'm in your camp as well. No one's ever mentioned his name.
No, ever. I never heard of this guy till now. And if he's the second coming of Mike Tyson and knocking everyone out, why is his name not being mentioned when we're struggling for opponents? It's never been mentioned. So I'm with you. I'm in the Chris Billam-Smith camp here, and he looks a little bit confident myself, and he's been smiling, like listening to shite being said to him. And I think he's going to make a statement here and put this guy away. I'm going to go. You said round 5. I'm going to go round 7.
Yeah.
Chris Billam-Smith, because like I say, Chris Billam-Smith is a tough man. No one's ever knocked him out.
Nope.
No one's ever done anything like that to him or rocked him or anything. He's a hard night's work. And Brandon Glanton's just going to come out of nowhere and knock him out. Listen, it can happen. It's boxing.
Yeah, of course.
I can't see it. Not for me.
Masternak was the one, wasn't it, that he kind of had to sit down on his gum shield and get a second win, if you like, and come and stop Masternak. Do you remember the Masternak fight straight after he won the world title? He took that dangerous fight. To me, that was a tougher fight than this. But I'm just saying that because I don't know anything about Glanton, and I'm not pretending to. When we done our preview last week of Pero, we said we're just going to have a look at him. We've read stuff about him. We've gone and watched footage of him. This level opponent he was fighting. How wrong did we get it? But a lot of people got it wrong. He was a massive odds-on favourite.
Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong, Dave. Listen, if Brandon Glanton comes and does what everyone expects him to do, great. It's a great addition to a shallow pool in the cruiserweight division, and I'm all for it. Agreed. He's now, you can start putting him in with your Zerdos, and Obatai's got more competition, and it's a great addition, and it's a great name. A former world champion, Chris Billam-Smith, and we're all like, wow. I'm with you. Like, let's do that. That's great. We need more people to pack that division because it's a poor division. So if he does come and do what everyone expects, I'll review. I'll applaud it. And anyone that I saw on Twitter say it, actually, I'm not a massive for talking on there, but I'll say this is fair play. You've called that well. But where has he been up to this point?
He's 33 as well. It's 33.
Yeah,
So
yeah, exactly. Where has he been? Why has no one mentioned him before? Now all of a sudden he's got a fight with Crispin and Smith. Crispin and Smith's just going to get banged out. I don't think it's right. Not for me.
yeah. Agreed, mate. Right, last one on the card. I'm not sure what order these go in. I think I've kind of got it right. Viddal Riley versus Cheavon Clarke. Now, I did say when we was talking about Ben Eubank that at one stage, pre-failing the drug test, Conor Benn was kind of in that ilk of one of Britain's best or most improved boxers. And he was. He really was. Now, for me, 2025, 24, coming into 2025, Viddal Riley takes that tag for me. Now, I've said on this podcast before, I've got so much respect for this guy.
Yeah, you have.
Viddal Riley was an amateur, lost his way, went down a different route, could have gone down the YouTube / Misfits, KSI kind of route and made so much more money. But I said, no, I don't want that. I don't want the influencer route. I was a boxer before I came into this kind of YouTube kind of stuff. I'm going to go back to our boxing, go through the right channels, work my way up to the top and show I'm a legit boxer, unlike, his mate KSI. And I love that. And watching him progress through every fight is brilliant. I love it because he's getting better and better and better. Chev Clarke, on the other hand, I like Chev. I've got a lot of time for Chev. He was in a great fight last time out, got floored, got back up. He had a light bulb moment, second half of the fight. Well, my normal, pressure fighting, getting them on the ropes and just smashing the fuck out the body isn't working. Let's go to the corner and go for another game plan. And he was right back in it, and it became a close fight. Chev is the Olympian. He's got another good, great, stellar amateur record, but he's adapted to the pros. Like his fundamentals go out the window. Apart from the last fight, I'm just used to seeing Chev walk geezers down, smash fuck out the body, hooks to the body, hooks at the head, tire him out, beat him up, bully him, stop him. And he had a really good fight against the Nigerian Pitbull as well. That was a super, super fight as he moves up in levels. But Viddal Riley, for me, is the better boxer. So how crazy it sounds, guys, we've got one Olympian against a good amateur. I think it's puncher versus boxer. However, I did just say Cheavon Clarke had a light bulb moment. We know he can box because he's been an Olympian. And he used his boxing to try and get back into that fight over in Monaco. Yeah. This is another intriguing fight. I love how Viddal Riley's now stepped up to this level, and Cheavon Clarke's got a fucking fight in his hand because if Viddal Riley gets into a rhythm, he's going to be asked to break down, mate. I haven't made my mind up with this one. I think this is a really good fight.
I think it is as well, and I think it's a fair play to Cheavon Clarke for taking this type of fight, just coming off a defeat. Doesn't need to, there could have been a bit of a rebuild there. I know it was close in his last fight, and I think he left it a little bit too late. Cheavon Clarke, although he did come on strong later in the later rounds, but he
started to box, Dave. He started to box the second half of the fight. That's what I meant. He just used to seeing him. Yeah, he did.
He lost the early rounds, but lost him the fight. So he probably take a lot from that. But Cheavon Clarke was also we've reviewed him a few times on here, isn't he? And sometimes he's very one-dimensional.
Yeah,
that can be a factor. Whereas
it's worked up until the defeat, hasn't it?
Yeah, but like I say, yeah, exactly. But it will only work for a certain amount of time and level of opponent. I think Viddal Riley's boxing IQ is better than anyone that Chev Clarke's been in up to this point. Yeah. I would go as far to say. So this is a different type of fight. Now, if Cheavon Clarke comes out the way that he usually does, and it's very one-dimensional and void of ideas and just comes straight forward and throws shots, I think that Viddal Riley can outbox him. So it is, for me, it's an intriguing fight. I think it's a step up for both of them. This is probably going to be the hardest one to call.
Yeah, but I think so.
It depends. Yeah, so this is a difficult one for me. I'm with you.
If Cheavon Clarke didn't box in that second fight, in that European title fight he had over in Monaco, if he just done the same thing for those 12 rounds, I'd be saying, Viddal Riley, take the box, mate. Just box his head off. But because he reverted to boxing rather than stalking, he has got other game plans. And that's why I'm finding it so hard. On the back of a defeat as well, where Viddal Riley's gone in and smoked Dan Garber in 2 rounds. Huey Fury a lot longer. You know? So, mate, I'm going first. I'm going first. I'm going to beat you to it. I actually want Viddal Riley to win because I love what I'm seeing in the improvement. But because Cheavon Clarke impressed me in the latter half of that European title fight, I think he's going to stop Viddal late. I'm going to stop Viddal Riley in the 11th round. I think he's going to get to him eventually. Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that.
I've got to be honest. I want Viddal to win, but I think Cheavon Clarke might just He is powerful. He's got power. And I think he might do enough to that body, get in on the inside, work the body, second half of the fight, and it might be too much of a doubt to get up.
I am going to go against you. And I think that Viddal Riley is going to win on a close points decision. I think that I think he's going to outbox Cheavon Clarke.
I do to the first half of the fight. I do as well.
Yeah, I think I just think Cheavon Clarke is sometimes a bit predictable, and I think what's going to happen to him in this last fight is that he's going to lose the early rounds, and I think he like you say, I think he will come on strong, but I think he's going to come on strong too late. That where he's lost the early rounds, and I think that'll be the massive factor in the fight. I think Viddal Riley's going to win on points.
So you're going for the Tottenham fan, well, I'm going for the Arsenal fan. North London derby, this.
Yeah, I know. Football goes out the window when I want to win the prediction league.
Yeah, this is how it should be. This is how it should be. It should be red corner beats blue corner. This is 50-50 for me.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and I can see both outcomes.
This is great matchmaking. I like this fight. It's great matchmaking. And like I say, Cheavon Clarke didn't need to take this type of fight off a defeat. So fair play.
It's only because Uncle Turkey thrust a bit of cash in front of his nose. Yeah, go on in. Why not? So, and I'm fighting at Tottenham Stadium. I'm the away fighter, if you like. So that was the last one of our previews, ladies and gentlemen. It's 8:20. I've got to fuck off to work in a minute, but we've got the winners' weekly wager to finish off with. Last week, I went for Lenny Apero. There was £44 in the pot. Didn't get it right. Dave said you've got to go on for Dalton. He didn't get it right either. However, I've got a point. I've turned that point into £1. Dave doubles it. Goes into the pot this week, which makes it £46 for the charity of your choice at the end of the season. But because Dave won the prediction league last week, we go by the rules, unlike the sanction bodies. And Dave picks this week's banker of the week in this week's winners' weekly wager. So what are you thinking, brother?
This is hard. I'm definitely not picking Cheavon Clarke Viddal Riley.
Oh, no.
This is quite hard to call this week. I've got a bit of a stinker this week.
Oh, by the way, actually, no, you can't have that one. But just I'll have it on top.
You usually give me Marlon Tavares, wouldn't you?
That's something like that. Is no, that's out of bounds. That was we will when there's a knockout there, we will preview it on Monday's show. But yeah, go on, mate.
I'm going to go with. I'm torn between two: Chris Billam-Smith and Anthony Yarde.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I think the disrespect that's gone to Chris Billam-Smith this week, I'm going to go for Chris Billam-Smith.
Hopefully.
I think it'd be nice for him to shut that fucking loudmouth yank up for starters. And like you said, Dave, he's a former world champion. Regardless of what you think about his boxing ability, he should have respect on his name. And I think he's going to get it, and he's going to earn us some money doing it.
Go on, CBS. Yeah. That's a good choice, that is, mate. Really good choice. Yeah. So you're off to the boxing on Saturday night, mate.
Yeah.
Decent seats, decent tickets by the sound of it. Enjoy yourself, especially with Alfie. Soak it all up, mate. It'd be one of those where was your moments, I'm hoping, a bit like with AJ and Dubois. Not a lot of people predicted AJ to get smashed to bits that night, but yeah, enjoy yourself, mate. And we will be back on Monday. We've got a special guest with us, Mr. Jay Murphy from Jay's Fight Talk, and obviously does bits on SW Fight Hub. He's going to dissect the fight with us, so that'll be very, very interesting to see his thoughts and views on what happens. Anything else to add, brother? And I've just added about your night out on Saturday, but anything else to add before we?
It's Alfie's birthday Sunday. I've got some news that might devastate you, and I should have mentioned it a couple of weeks ago, but it's a retirement of a fighter. Oh, you won't be happy about.
Oh no.
Paige the Rage.
Why?
She's not come back to the gym for weeks. Spoke to the coaches and said, "Where is she?" And she's moved schools or something, so she's too tired to come after school because she's got to travel. So she is a traveller as well. So
is she? That's irrelevant. But I thought you were going to say she's moved schools, but she's going to carry on a boxing journey in another part of London or not. Oh, that's such a shame.
I don't think it's that. And it was the only. Although to be fair, when I went to see Alfie last, when was it? What we now Tuesday? We fell first. When I went there Tuesday, there's a few more girls in there, but they're not Paige the Rage.
No, you can't. She can't be replaced. I'm sorry.
It's a shame. Yeah. So listen, she may come back. She might. She may come. And if she does, I'll let you know. But I knew that one would hurt your heart. But it looks like she's packed it in.
Well, she by the sounds of it, she had a love of it before, and she's only a kid. So let's
Yeah,
hopefully she
she's
can't
older
leave it
now.
alone.
She's
She can't leave it alone. She'll be back.
Yeah, she's only 11 or 12, so she'll
you
be
go.
back, I'm sure.
Bless her. And we'll be back on Monday, guys. As I just said. So stay safe. Have a great weekend. And the procedure will be parliamentary.
You've been waiting to do that. You've been waiting to do it.
Peace out, guys.